Hello Algebra 2 students, welcome to your Unit 4 study guide videos. We're going to be looking at section B, checkpoint. That's going to be our first part of our study guide. Let's start with question 1. For each question, determine the number of solutions and explain your reasoning. You do not need to find any solution, so we don't need to solve. We just need to tell them we have one solution, two solutions, or no solutions. In this case, if you look at A, I see that I have a square root, and then the square root of whatever I have inside is equal to a -5. Question, can I take the square root of a negative number and get a real solution? No, I cannot, right? So automatically I'm going to say, oh, no solution. No solution. Okay. No solution. Okay. And again, the reasoning, I can't take the square root of a negative number. Again, the only reason I say no solution is because they just told me, just by looking at it, can I find any solutions? And if they would have told me, okay, figure out the complex or figure out the imaginary or figure out the non-real, then I would go ahead and use my imaginary numbers. But right here, they're not telling me to use imaginary or complex or non-real, so I'm just going to stick with no solution. Okay, so the wording matters. Okay, so let's look at B. B says the cube root of x plus 4 is equal to 6. Well, I know for a cube root I'm gonna have, well, let's see. If I look at my graph, by the way, you should all have this graph on your paper. Whoops, having some technical difficulties right here. But the graph of x cubed looks something like this. Question, if I was to draw lines that were to go through my graph, do I touch any point twice? No, I do not touch any point twice. I always touch my graph at least once, right? Or just that one time. So if I was to cross here, I only touch my graph once. If I cross here, I touch my graph once. If I cross my graph here, I touch once. I touch once, only once, only once, only once, right? You get the point. So that means for my cube root, I'm only going to have one solution. Okay. So if you're watching this before you take the notes that I have up on the whiteboard for you, then it might not make sense. But if you look at the whiteboard, I will have notes for you that explain this whole situation. Okay. But that is it for my video for this part of the section B checkpoint. I'll see you in the next one.